we're doing well, Wyatt. I'd like to jump right into some questions. So you opened your speech by saying that we shouldn't fix what isn't broke, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we can establish some common ground that you contend that there is some sort of reason to keep military commissions available, right?
Most certainly.
Okay. So moving on to that first point you brought up in your speech, your primary contention is that the reason we should keep military commissions open is because they deal with certain types of cases, for example, the most dangerous terrorists, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you brought up a piece of evidence under that point. Could I have a copy of that, please?
Certainly.
Awesome. So you would agree that like a relevant point of contention for this debate is what types of cases each system handles?
We believe that that is an important thing to discuss. However,
Okay.
this is ultimately left up to the United States justice system and federal government
All right.
to adjudicate which terrorists go where.
Thanks. Glad we can agree on that one. So moving forward, you talked about the rules of evidence, and you responded and brought up a fairly long quote discussing the different evidence standards at the beginning of this piece.
Yes.
Could I have a copy of that?
Certainly. I read this top quote and I accidentally read that one as well.
Okay, so the second one, awesome. So when you were discussing the issue of impacts, when you talked about how there is no harm to the United States, you were essentially saying that there was no national security threat currently.
Right. Basically, all that we're arguing that is a harm is that people aren't getting their vengeance on these terrorists because they're sitting and rotting in Gitmo rather than being charged and executed or thrown in prison.
Right. Now, you didn't provide any sort of counter goal, or your partner didn't bring up any sort of counter goal or other measure we should use in this round besides justice and advantage, right?
No, and we do believe that essentially the reason we didn't do that is because we believe that justice is a good thing to uphold, but we have to look at the most effective ways of upholding that. And we don't
Okay,
believe
right.
eliminating military commissions does so.
So based on what you just said there, we can agree that if justice is a good thing, then when justice is harmed, that's a bad thing, right?
Certainly, but we haven't.
Glad we can agree on that. So moving on, you also discussed about you discussed the issue of Ahmed Gayani. Now, you talked about how federal courts they acquitted him of charges in one case. You brought up a piece of evidence for that.
They admitted him of charges on 200 murder cases.
Okay, so you would agree that Ahmed Gayani was brought back into the federal court system a couple years later and received a life sentence for his crimes, correct?
I do not have evidence to show that he was actually given a life sentence for those murder charges. In fact, those charges were dropped.
All right, we will clarify that in the next speech. Thank you. No further questions.
The negative team will start.